The Dallas Mavericks just fired their GM, Nico Harrison, showing real accountability after falling short. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, the Pelicans keep pretending everything's fine with Willie Green, but I'll tell you why that's going to have detrimental impacts on rookie Derik Queen. It's the Wednesday episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. Also on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, here on this Wednesday, and I'm joined by Dylan Sanders from Pelicans Roundtable here. Actually, Dylan, say hi first, and then we'll make a little announcement here.
Hey, what's up? It's me, Dylan Sanders, Pelicans Roundtable. I'm here.
I was like, just throw you on the spot. All right, so we're going to get into the Mavericks firing Nico Harrison, showing some accountability. I think they got more to go, but how it relates to the Pelicans and Willie Green here, I was pretty clear in my thoughts on that in yesterday's show. We are going to dive into the development of rookie Derik Queen, how maybe not moving on from Willie Green can harm this team to some degree as well. And then if there's time, because we got a lot to cover, I want to get into the Sacramento Kings potentially having a fire sale over there as well. Don't forget, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right, quickly here. Dylan's been on the show a bunch recently. Y'all have seen him on here. He's going to be a regular ongoing forward, but quick programming note. I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off the show. I am actually getting married next week and then going on my honeymoon, and I'm going to take a break and enjoy my honeymoon. So you've got me this week, next week, then Dylan's going to be taking it over for like 2 or 3 weeks. I forget exactly what the timing is, but he will be flying solo on there. So get used to seeing Dylan more here. And also, I don't know, any haters who are like, let's see you, go away, Jake. Here you go for a period of time.
Well, there's going to be some people that listen to the Saints Squad show over on the Locked On Podcast Network. They're going to be very happy, and then some that are going to be very annoyed. And I am excited for both to come listen.
Yeah, there we go. You know what? It'll be a nice change of pace. I'm looking forward to just relaxing for a couple weeks, especially after the start of the season that we've had here.
Oh my God. I do not blame you. I do not blame you.
I was like, it's going to be such a shame if they're winning. And then, look, not a shame. I'm excited to get married and go on my honeymoon. Let me be very clear on that. It's like, what if they're winning? They're good and all that. And then it's like, I got to step away. I think it's fine. And it's also fine. So let's get into the first topic here because look, Willie Green's still the head coach. They're coming off another blowout loss, their 4th of the season, 8 losses. Half of them have been just unbelievably awful. And he's still the head coach. You're coming in on a 5-game homestand. And I said in yesterday's show, if you're going to do it, now is the time. A ton of time at home. These guys can sleep in their own beds. That's a pretty important thing. You have a little bit of more time to practice and do all of that. Less travel. It's a good time to try and make a transition. And, well, someone got fired on Tuesday, and it was Nico Harrison of the Dallas Mavericks. When I look at the Mavs situation, I don't think this really fixes anything for them. The damage there is done. And you can't undo that damage, but at least they're taking kind of proper accountability of we made a mistake, even if they're not directly saying that. We're going to do what we can to fix it and just let our fans know that this is not acceptable where we are currently because they look just as bad as New Orleans does, if not worse, and that shouldn't be where they are.
No, not at all. And honestly, the thing about it is they're taking this move, they're taking this action. I think long-term, even with the Cooper flag of it all, the Mavericks might be in a worse case long-term than the Pelicans are because they're always going to have the cloud of the Luka Doncic thing hanging over them. The fans are never going to be happy because this happened. I just don't see a case where they go forward and everyone's happy about the situation.
No, like this is a situation where like it's never going to get fully resolved. This is for the Dallas Mavericks, and we'll relate it back to the Pelicans here in a second, like the start of that. You're never going to be able to undo all of the damage and the goodwill that you've lost. For New Orleans, you can fix this and you forget about all of the bad things. Like you can fire head coach Willie Green, try and make a change and show some accountability. Basically, ownership saying, we know you're frustrated. We're frustrated too. We want to make a change because we've got to do something to get better when we've already seen this movie multiple times before. At least Dallas is doing that, right? All they can do here is be like, we screwed up. We're sorry. We learned from those mistakes. We're not going to make those mistakes again. But here in New Orleans, it feels like, yeah, we're cool just making the same mistakes because we don't actually care. And that's the message that I think is kind of coming across. You just put it on Twitter, right? You want to talk to season ticket holders about how they're feeling around the team. And I'd be willing to bet what I just expressed there is a lot of what you're going to end up hearing.
Yeah, it is. It's a complacency, and it's a thing that's happened a lot in New Orleans sports. Took a while for Mickey Loomis for them to move on from Dennis Allen. Mickey Loomis is there. Like, they're
doubling down that gum chewing press conference where he brought out stats of like all-time head coaches only to, have Dennis Allen fired 9 months later.
9 months. And then now you come over to New Orleans and like nothing really changes. Rookies get play time whenever there's hurt, whenever there's injuries. There's not changes to the rotation that could very clearly be made. The team is very clearly worse off with Kevon Looney in the starting lineup than anyone else, and Kevon Looney continues to be in the starting lineup. Derik Queen is still coming in way too late into games. He's starting to come in earlier, but at this point, why not throw him out in the starting lineup and see how it happens? The team is it's almost like completely opposite. They're like plus 17 with him on the court and in net rating, and with Kevon Looney is minus 20. That's one of those things where why don't you change? Grayson Allen tortures you all night with the same motion, the same sets, all over and over, and you do not adjust. It happens every game. There's always someone that finds a hole in this New Orleans defense and attacks it over and over again because the adjustments don't come. When does something change? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what's so frustrating about it, right? Like that's what makes fans feel like the front office and ownership just don't care. And the rushed hiring process of Joe Dumars just felt like a canned move of, I called it on this show, the laziest thing they could have done. I've talked a lot, and you and I have talked about it too on the show, of like, you've got to do something to change the perception around this franchise. And there was a negative perception around the Dallas Mavericks that was caused by the owner, Patrick Dumont, their governor, doing all of that, right? Like he signed off on the Luka trade, but at least he had enough self-awareness to basically do the mea culpa, even if he doesn't directly say it. And the statement he put out is kind of weak, of like, hey, we're sorry. But you've got to mean it. It can't be like the South Park episode, right? The BP oil spill one. We're sorry. Like you've got to actually mean it, and you have to have action behind it. And that's something that this franchise, the Pelicans, are lacking right now. And that's what's so disappointing and so frustrating about it. It's very simple. Like, look, you don't want fans or even media running your team, right? I don't know. I couldn't coach this team. I'd be like, you should coach over Willie Green. That would go worse than what you're seeing on the court, I promise you, right? You put me in the front office, probably the same thing. I truthfully mean that.
I've won a couple chips on 2K, so I'm not going to go for it. I can do it. I'm going to say right now.
I saw someone reach out to the UCLA athletic director offering their UCLA the college NCAA whatever game resume, being like, I've won like 8 national titles in a row with this team. Why don't you hire me? Given the state of that franchise, maybe, or school, everything. Maybe that's the right idea. So like, look, these are just have good basketball people make good decisions, right? And there's questions about whether Joe Dumars is really equipped for this job at times. Should they have gone through a better process for that? There's questions of the ownership group, let's call it. It goes kind of beyond Gail Benson. What input do those people have if they're just not basketball people and they don't get it? And that's kind of part of the problem here, I think. So it's just make smart basketball decisions. And with Willie Green, you've seen it's not working. I don't know what else we need to see at this point, but it would also go a long way towards repairing some of the damage that is being done with fans right now. And I do think there is active harm here. But as you said earlier, that feeling in Dallas is never going to go away. It's never fully going to go away. There will be like scars that remain here. In New Orleans, I don't know, you can make a change, you can move, you can shift eras, and it's not like those scars remain anymore because there isn't anything that's like that deep seated here that's happening other than please win. We want to root for a winner and you're annoying us because we're not winning. So I think your point that this is maybe a better situation than Dallas is very, very valid with that. But you've got to get it right. And I want to get into that with Derik Queen because you're seeing a lot of flashes with him. I want to get into some of the X's and O's, his play and that kind of stuff. But if you don't make a change at head coach, I do think you could harm that a little bit. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the start of the game, you're late, or you want to ride the hot hand, maybe it's Grayson Allen going off again. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It just keeps every game exciting, especially if the Pelicans or their opponent is making a late fourth quarter push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And all you have to do is head to FanDuel.com. Sign up over at FanDuel.com. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. That is $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Built. No one likes paying rent, but if you must, you may as well get something for it. And that's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payments into real rewards you can actually use. So when you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. I love that with Built, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already have to pay, but you can use it at your favorite local restaurants. Head to the gym. You're always going to be earning rewards. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use that link so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join us on YouTube as well and the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On, by the way, the #1 sports podcast network, #1s all around here, except on the court for New Orleans. A #1 first round pick, Derik Queen. I'm, by the way, joined by Dylan Sanders here at Pelicans Roundtable, who will be taking over the show for a couple of weeks, starting at the end of next week. So keep that in mind, everybody. Derik Queen, I want to get into him because, we're so focused on the coaching stuff, but he's playing really well. And you mentioned his on-off net rating, which per Cleaning the Glass, which I knew you were the right guy to take over the show because that's my favorite stats website. So you're using those already. So that's good. He's a +17. There's 17 points per 100 possessions better with him on the court. That is an astronomically high number. That is very, very encouraging.
Yeah,
there's something there. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, I love the numbers. I love Cleaning the Glass, but it's just like at some point you just gotta eye test. You gotta watch it and you see it. He sees the court very well. Some of the stuff that you watch it. Going to the games now, it's kind of similar to how it was whenever Zion first got to New Orleans. I kind of want to go to games just to see what Derik Queen's going to do. Like this is a thing. This is a real tangible thing that you can build around. Fans want to see what he's going to do. National media, it's something that people are talking positively about the New Orleans Pelicans. It's this guy. It's Tim Duncan. It's the big funny.
Yeah, that was awesome.
This is a great piece and a great bright spot for the future. So why now do you keep it bogged down with the negativity of eras past whenever there is a shining bright, a bright shining light in terms of Queen and Jeremiah Fears, these two rookies? This is something to build around.
Yeah, look, everyone loves like it's like a hipster thing. Like you feel like you want to get in on the ground floor of something. You want to find the band before they blew up and you can be like, I was there first, right? Like there's something to be said for that it makes you feel like you're an early investor or you're just involved in it. You're part of it. Rookies, 2 exciting rookies is the best way you can do something like that. You play the rookies, you lean into that, you focus on them, you lower prices slightly would be good too. And then people flock to that team to see the next thing. That's how you do this. Like that's the blueprint right there, right? That's what every smart NBA team does when they're in a situation like this. The Mavs will do it, by the way, with Cooper Flag. They're going to trade Anthony Davis. They'll see if Kyrie Irving wants to be traded or not, but they'll keep him for a little bit longer. But they're going to just focus on Flag and make that the future. Derik Queen has been impressive because for a variety of different ways, right? The playmaking and passing has really jumped out at me. He had that 8 assist game. You're seeing some just kind of instant chemistry with some of these guys, that little alley-oop that he had to Trey. You see some really impressive things around him, right? You have thrown these names out. I've done it too. We could mention Nikola Jokic. You've seen some of that ability in him. Alperen Şengün, who was an all-star last year. You've seen some of that.
I see a lot of Şengün.
You do,
I see a lot of Şengün.
Okay, so what about Şengün do you see in Derik Queen?
It is the ability to kind of slow the game down and kind of play at your own pace. You're used to now, even with Jeremiah Fears, you're used to play like with Jordan Poole and CJ McCollum, and then otherwise you're like your Shays and stuff like that. They speed the game up. But now Derik Queen, these bigs, they're able to slow the game down, and you've seen him hit the crossovers, you've seen him hit the moves, the dribble moves. He has impressive handles. He can get to his shot. He can fade away, and he just sees the court well. He makes the right decisions, and it's more of the vision and making the game his own rather than being like, well, this guy is not athletically as gifted as some of these other guys, but it doesn't matter because he's able to make y'all play at his own pace.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, right? Like he dictates kind of the terms of engagement and how things are going to go, particularly when you're on offense. And I think you've seen such versatility from him that he can be used in a variety of different ways. We've seen some of the passing from the mid post, right? That's where Jokic operates out of with the Denver Nuggets. And you have him work out of there. Şengün tends to operate from there, but also on the 3-point line at the top of it. And you've seen that from Derik Queen too. There's different ways to be that kind of offensive hub. When you kind of compare him to Jokic, he is a different player. Jokic is a very good post-up big. Denver, by the way, their offense is highly efficient because they're posting him up a ton this year, more so than almost any other team we've seen in like a decade, which is kind of impressive. Queen shows some flashes of that. I don't know if he's going to be quite an elite post-up guy, but the other thing that you see from him is his isolation play, driving and attacking the basket. And I think that's what's so exciting here. The way he grades out in synergy, he's not a polished offensive player yet, but in isolation, he grades out in the 90th percentile of all players right now. That's him driving downhill and attacking the basket. That creates for others. So what you're seeing is teams don't want to let him do that right now because he's done such a good job scoring with that and potentially has a size mismatch. So they're sagging off of him, giving him room on the 3-point line, which is just giving him room to pass the ball. He's taller. He can see it. When you compare his facilitating to Zion Williamson, the height difference between the two players is a significant thing where Queen makes reads and passes that Zion just is not going to be able to do because he can't see it or he doesn't have the height to get the ball over. And as he starts to make those plays, guys are going to play up on him more. They're going to give him less airspace, and then he's a good isolation player, so he'll just drive by you. Like I love that. That's exciting to me.
Yeah, and this is Derik Queen is not a perfect player. He's not a polished player.
No.
But the thing is, he has trouble scoring on like starting bigs because he just his own scoring obviously needs to grow. But you also have to play him. He's a rookie. You have to play him. You have to play him and allow him to play against that top talent to actually let him grow and see. But you're not doing that whenever you're stuck in between the era of, okay, we need to win this year, so we have to start the vet in Kevon Looney because we feel like he has the most experience and can do it. You're stuck in between two timelines again. And I feel like that's why they really need to commit to one. And I think that starts with making a move that we've been saying for weeks now.
Sounds like you've been listening to Locked On Pelicans for the past couple months with this two timelines thing, which I've been screaming about. It doesn't work. They're stuck in between them, and it's going to make neither one really work out. They do need to commit to one. It might hinge on Zion's trade value. If you can't get a lot for him, do you make a win now move? But I don't love that idea. We'll talk a little bit about that in the next segment here. With Queen, it's just interesting to see how he plays. Like you see the vision for him. Doesn't mean the trade to go up and get him was good, but we're going to separate that from right now because look, that's done. But that does need to kind of be somewhat of a factor in terms of things. So he shows a lot of the talent. He's shown off the ability to potentially shoot a three. And I'd be really curious. So tying it into Willie Green, then I'm going to ask you a question about Derik Queen, then we'll go to break here is, one of the things that you need to do around these kind of unique passing big men, they're very tough to build around. I think Queen's a little bit easier to build around than someone like Zion Williamson, who has court gravity, not for his passing ability, but for his drive and kick ability, more like a guard than a traditional big man here. Is you need to have a lot of off-ball movement. You look at the Denver Nuggets, they have tons. They have had for years around Jokic. You look at a team like the Houston Rockets, with Şengün kind of at times being the offensive hub, especially now that Van Vliet is down, a lot of off-ball movement, and this team just doesn't play that way. And I don't necessarily trust that they're going to be able to develop the right kind of offense around someone like Derik Queen. You need to bring in someone who's going to do that. That's another reason to potentially move on from Willie Green. Now, you can't install a new offense at this point in the season, but at least guys might respond to that better and move, and it lets you truly see what you have in Derik Queen.
Yeah, a lot of this comes down to the actual in-game management that we've seen be poor. Like it just in terms of adjustments. If something's not working, well, you better try it until it doesn't work, which is kind of a microcosm of everything that the Orleans Pelicans have done. But especially like Willie is someone that's known for his defense. The defense is horrible this year. And then, so I think kind of switching over right now with how this team is, I think making the move to a more offensive minded guy would make sense. And even if that is like James Borrego, allowing him to maybe see how things run. We only got like one game of him coaching this team, but it was impressive. Jordan Hawkins had a career night. It's like we could see some stuff. Jordan Hawkins, if he hits shots, in theory, is a great piece to have next to someone like
Derik but he doesn't hit shots.
But he doesn't hit shots. So I'm just interested to see. I agree with you. I think it comes down a lot at this point to the coaching staff, and I don't really have full faith that they are fully equipped right now to develop around these guys.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question about Derik Queen coming up next. I'll let you think about it. I won't surprise you. What do you think his biggest swing skill needs to be in the NBA? Like, what's the skill that makes this kind of really work? I have one you might not expect. That's coming up here next in today's episode. Look at that tease. I'm a pro. It's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Say yes to making the switch and get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And you can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. You're going to get the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price, and it's super easy. Keep your number and you're up and running in minutes. So ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. Upfront payment of $40 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, the #1 sports network. That's a lot of number ones here. Even when things are bad, we're still doing shows. We're covering it all. We will keep doing that even when I'm out for a little bit, because you got Dylan Sanders at Pelicans Roundtable giving you that insight as well. My guest and taking over the show for a little bit, so I'm on a honeymoon. So I teased it going into the break here, Dylan. We're running out of time. Biggest swing skill you think that's like the most important thing for Derik Queen to develop, or something along those lines?
My #1 right now is post scoring, just because I do think I think that he'll need to develop, at least be a 2-level scorer, which is something that, like Zion hasn't been able to develop. But I think you're already seeing the confidence in game for Derik Queen to kind of go with the midi. He's not afraid to shoot a three if the team dares him to. But he is kind of shying away from attacking the rim because it's not going in at a high rate. So if he can get that confidence, I'm not worried about him. I think he already has the shots will fall in time, I think, around the mid-range. But I think he really needs to gain the confidence and the consistency at the rim to really unlock his ability, both as a scorer and as a playmaker, because teams will take him more seriously.
Well, look, if you don't score, they're just going to take away your playmaking, and that's that. And you can't be one-dimensional like that. Especially for a big man. And that kind of gets into mine. I'm going to go on the other side of the ball. Like, I think he needs to be able to defensive rebound at a better rate than what he's been doing. One of the issues we've seen building around Zion Williamson, playing him at the 4, is he's undersized, and that has killed this team when it comes to defensive rebounding, because you have to go get a center then, a 5 that's an elite defensive rebounder, and you can do that, but usually those guys don't tend to be court spacers, and so they've never really put that stretch 5 next to Zion Williamson, because guys that are elite defensive rebounders and that shoot threes, there's like 4 of them in the league, and it's really tough to do. If Derik Queen can be a defensive rebounder and be, above average to good or better in that category, you can get a weaker center, but one that spaces the court. And what does that do for your offense? And what could that look like? And Queen at least has the size. Zion at his size is never going to be an elite defensive rebounder. It's just not possible, right? Barkley's the only one at that size who's been good. And that is such an outlier situation. You can't expect that of somebody. If Queen can give you either rim protection or defensive rebounding, or both, ideally, that unlocks things for this team at a whole nother level and makes it easier to build around. I think bigs are tougher to build around than guards are, just because you need to find more complementary pieces for that. You can develop that skill. It's not that hard to build around him.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, I guess it's kind of obvious to do like rebounding and post scoring, but I think it is.
There's no right or wrong answer to this.
Crucial. It's crucial.
Yeah,
I think everything is crucial. He just has to become a more well-rounded player. But I think what people get stuck up on is like, man, you're making this call to build around him so early. I think he's shown everything that you need to see to at least see a base level to where all of these things could happen, and that is something you take out of a 20-year-old basketball player.
So we're not going to touch on the Kings thing, so I'm just going to leave that there quickly because we got to wrap up. The other point is they need to build around him because they invested future stuff in him.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point. If you traded next year's future first-round pick, you're like, we're not going to build around Queen. What are you doing in the first place? You kind of chose this path. You kind of need to go down it. There's that aspect of it too.
It looks like they could have lucked out and gotten someone you can build around.
Maybe. Let me know what anyone thinks about a Sabonis for Zion trade in the comments down below. That's going to do it for Locked On Pelicans. I'm your host, Jake Madison. That's Dylan Sanders. See y'all next time.